Better late than never, eh? Hi there and welcome back to Japan. I don't know how loud the sound of my microphone is going to be, but I suspect it's very loud from what I'm reading. So let me know. Anyway, we're in a different location today. Anyone who's been with the channel for long enough will know where this is. Let's have a little look. We are in the emergency location for when you desperately need internet. And can you get the internet? So, first things first, hello to everyone. As you guys know, I can't really use the internet for streaming back at the place where I'm currently staying because there's been complaints about noise. It's like if you talk after a certain hour, then you get complaints. So we had lots of problems there. However, I tried to do it on the rooftop, but the lighting was impossible. So I bit the bullet and decided to come to, I'm going to call it an internet cafe. It's got all the facets of an internet cafe, but it's not really an internet cafe. It's somewhere you can easily get into any time of night, is all I'm saying. So anyway, hello to everyone. Let's have a look here and just see. There's a lot of comments before I came in. I'm just going to quickly scan through them. Thank you. It's good to see Sammy, Rev, Naguyan, everyone here already. Malta, Harry, thank you. Scott, hello Scott. Well, good to see you in here as well. So many people here already, so thank you to you all. I live and waiting, very true words from YouTube. Combat Masters saying, are you sitting on the hallway outside of an office door? It looks like that, and I appreciate that. Possibly in a lift. I'll pick up the camera and show you guys around here in a minute, because it will be all the more comical when you see more. So actually, I took a couple of pictures from outside that but I haven't had a chance to transfer them from my phone. Maybe I'll just show them on my phone. Wait a minute. Anyway, I've got a lot of things to go through today. First of all, just quick little update. Some fun things that have occurred. First things before I do that, let me just, there's a little problem with the setup. There we go, that should be alright now. There we go. First thing, I know this is not particularly interesting to anyone, but anyone who knows how much walking I regularly do, this should be something that I can perhaps show you guys. So yeah, part of keeping the budget realistic, we do a lot of walking to try and I've now been using an app to confirm how much walking I've been doing, just in case anyone thinks that I'm whinging or lots of weird things come up on the screen. Alright, so I've been walking on this app for a series of days. Let's have a look. So my average steps per day is 17,440. Average calories burnt, therefore, is like 867. It's pretty good. Average time spent walking per day is just shy of 3 hours. Can't quite see that there. Screen's too bright. Average distance walked per day, 12.6 kilometers. That's about 8 or 9 miles. So yeah, if anything, this life is at least keeping me healthy. But yeah, anyway, there's some things I wanted to show on the phone. I'll come around to that in a minute. But yeah, so as a result, my shoes have been wearing down, and my shoe size is not one you can buy in Japan. However, luckily, finally, new shoes. And yes, we got new shoes, so that's great news. Great news. Anyway, but I hope everyone can hear me. I hope this sounds alright. As I said, I'm using not the normal microphone, so I expect it's going to sound a bit bad today. Underground bunker. Tokyo has a lot of walking, strangely, despite a good subway and train system. I think it's very optional. I mean, you could potentially. There's a lot, yeah, I mean, like anywhere, there's a lot of blind spots to walking, but you can pretty much go anywhere without making any effort if you wanted to, but I think sometimes, you know, using all of the connections at your disposal can end up taking longer than just using a couple of connections and walking the last bit. So I think Maria's got a good point there. But I personally preference a bit of walking. Again, says 17,000 steps isn't bad for a rookie. Thanks. It's pretty good for someone who works on a computer. Rev, 3 kilometers a day just trying to find your way out of stations. Pretty true. I had a nice, there's another thing I was going to show you guys photographs of. I had a nice meal with a friend today, and we went to, a lot of people know that there's like themed cafes in Tokyo, and a lot of the themes are to do with the themes of the staff. So, you know, you've all heard of like maid cafes, and then you've got different host cafes like ninja cafes and robot cafes. But sometimes you'll get a cafe which is just like the design, the etiquette is just designed for a certain interest. And today we went to an architecture cafe where just you, on all of the tables and around you are different models of well-known architecture. So we had like pictures of like little, I guess you call it diorama, like beautiful little pieces of architecture, which reminded me, because my first ever job, well, I had one job which was just before leaving school, and I had one job which was just after leaving school, and there was also a period I left home before I left school, so I always kind of muddle up which of the 3 jobs I call my first job after leaving school. Was it the one at the council office, was it the one in the studio, or was it one in the architect's office? But anyway, one of the jobs around when I was leaving school was in an architect's office, so it had a nice little ring of funness to me. But when your friend just says, hey, do you want to go to an architecture themed cafe, I was like, cool, I like architecture. Never heard of this being a thing, but cool. Let's have a look here. Just getting enough food for all the walking, or is your chicken still getting some? I actually switched to another room that has its own fridge in it. It costs like a couple of £100 more per day, but it means that my food's all safe, and I can, plus I save so much food because I can buy like good amounts of proper ingredients, so I can cook properly rather than having to live on stuff that, you know, small packages of ingredients that cost more. You know, quantity always saves you money, so yeah, false economy to stay in the smaller room. Still small though. Lol, that's fair. Didn't see what that's for. 100 yen shoe. No, but actually, I bought jeans for the same reason. These cost 300 yen. Yeah, 315 yen from my favourite second-hand shop. I think I showed you guys before. If you watched some of the videos of me and James, you'd have seen that shop. The shoes were a little bit more pricey. Actually, I didn't need to. Why did I show you a picture? I've got them right here. But all that walking does eat up shoes. Mine only last 6 months now. I walk to work every day. Yeah, actually, the shoes I've got, I mean, the previous pair, they're still fine. They're actually still good. They've got splits and tears and holes in them and everything, but they still work. So I'm not throwing them away. It's just I can't take them to anything where, I guess when I'm meeting friends, they don't care. They know what I'm like. They know that I'm not high maintenance at all. But if I'm going to like meet someone who might be a work contact and I've got gigantic gaping holes in the top of my shoes, then it doesn't really come off so well. I've got one nice pair of shoes, but I like to keep them nice. And that's why I've got basically it's all Converse. If I have my way, it would be all Converse all the time with one pair of trainers. Hi, H key and N key not working properly, lol. I don't get that. So, good thing it was an architecture cafe. If it was an engineering cafe, everything would be falling apart and non-functional. I mean, actually, you remind me of something. You know, it depends what you want to call the shop, IKEA or IKEA, you know, the shop where you buy furniture and build it yourself. I didn't know, but in Japan, if you go to one of them, they tend to have a very large restaurant cafe, like an IKEA cafe and an IKEA restaurant. And that made me laugh, because the first time I heard that, I was like, what? Is this a restaurant where you basically just go and make the food yourself? They just give you instructions, here, make lasagna. Okay, so someone locked Howard in the toilet. I hope it isn't good carpeting. So, okay, I'll tell you what this shop is. I think if anyone who's lived in Japan has probably managed to do the working out. Now, first thing actually, before I tell you, some of you might already know about what this is, because when we first did the channel, like first started on Back at Breakdown before Back Broadcast, there was the period, and I've still got some of these videos, some of them were still saved, where we started off I think the first live streams were done from these places as well. We started off in a house, but then shortly after starting the channel, maybe this channel's bad karma because I had to leave that house and I was basically just bouncing between internet cafes for a while. But then I found internet cafes and you get like a booth, so you can't really, you can't really do recordings and you definitely can't do live streams. There is a couple of internet cafes that give you an enclosed room. They're a little bit more expensive, but it's kind of like you pay the extra premium. Then I found these shops, and these shops basically you do get a computer, but the purpose of these shops, they're called a relaxation room. So, where I think many men go to enjoy a little bit of self-satisfaction. So, they're not so keen on the facilities. In fact, all you really get is a large television screen. You get your controller and then your large television screen. And knock yourself out. But these shops, they have these absolutely everywhere. So pretty much any town you're in, if you just need somewhere to get a quiet room and an internet connection, because they all have pretty good Wi-Fi, again, serves the purpose, then you just come in here, pay the money. So basically I just came in here, I said, look, I need, because I knew this from a computer, so I need 3 hours, and it cost me like 1,000 yen, which is, okay, it's not the sort of money you want to be spending, but I was looking originally at going to a McDonald's, and then, I could have got like a meal for a few hundred yen, but then I was in there were drunk, loud people in there. The only power outlet they had was a USB one. They don't have a proper plug-in power outlet, so I couldn't have charged in my laptop. And so I just thought, that's when I sent the message on the stream saying, you know what, I'm just going to go somewhere else. And so I suddenly remembered, I saw one of these close by, because every station's got one close by. So I came over here, came in, checked out, and here I am. Alright. Basically, anyone who's been in Japan, you'll know if you're walking usually near to any station, any built-up station, the same way that every station has a McDonald's, every station has one of these, and they'll just see a big sign saying DVD. Again, filling the gaps. But yeah, a lot of this channel was built up in these places because for a while this was the only realistic place I could stay. And like internet cafes, they also have a night pack where you can basically just pay to sleep there. They give you like 12 hours and then out in the morning. So Akihabara has got about 8 of these. Oh man. Alright, let's have a look and see what we've got here. Oh wow, a lot of comments about the IKEA thing, so let's catch up with that. So we have IKEA restaurants in the US, apparently quite popular. Yeah, I went to a Christmas dinner at one a few years ago with some friends, and it was pretty good actually. I mean, they did have a buffet, so they did try to go, make it yourself, but basically the food was good. Yeah, when I worked at Six Flags, I walked about 12 miles a day and went through 3 or 4 pairs of shoes. Yeah, now a pair last year's. Yeah, good exercise though. Certainly. For someone like me, I like walking anyway. I think the main thing I like is that I get to walk. I know where I'm going and I know Tokyo so well that I get to just walk the whole journey, so it's no repetition, which I imagine when you're walking around work that can be quite repetitive. They're here too. Good meatballs at IKEA. People like their Swedish meatballs. I don't know if that's a joke or if it's genuine, but it sounds like it should be. Self-satisfaction, so a nice beer and a nap. Tends to be what I use them for. Oh yeah, I did bring it. So listening to Rolling Stones in here. Oh yeah, of course. I can't get that. I can. And the lingonberry jam. Lingonberry jam? Okay, I missed something. Next week's stream will come live from a Love Hotel. What you guys don't know is I did actually do a stream from a Love Hotel once. I think it was one of the times when I was, actually maybe twice, when I was visiting Tokyo from Hakuba during the pandemic, like during the height of the pandemic. Obviously most people are vaccinated now and everyone's very careful with the masks and washing hands, but still during the height of the pandemic everyone was being careful. So I was staying, as you guys might remember, I was staying in hotels. I'll see if I can find it, which ones they were. But there's a couple of times I came down where, and so I'm sure at least one of them would have been in a live chat, where I came down and I booked like the best value hotel in a reasonable location, because again, any travel you have to do extra is more money on top. And there's an area called Ugui Sudani, which is famous for them. They've got areas around, but Ugui Sudani is famous for them. It's really close to Ueno, which is a useful place for me. And there's this one hotel where a couple of times I came down, it was the best value place to stay with a good internet connection and everything. So I booked into it a couple of times. So I must be the most unsatisfied customer of all of these places I visit. But I think I'm doing a good job. So yeah, actually I've visited them a couple of times, but I'm sure there's been at least one live chat which was done from one of them. I just didn't mention at the time. No, if there was a Rolling Stones room, you'd never be able to get any satisfaction in that. Yeah, I think I noticed the contradiction of that joke, so I'm wondering if that was part of the joke. But you try and you try and you try. Well, you can't always get what you want. You can get what you need. Those rooms have red doors painted black. What are those places? I don't know if that was a joke or if you're literally telling me something there and I've missed it. Sorry, I sometimes miss things in the conversation. So one of the things I wanted to do today is, obviously we've had a lot of, this week's been pretty good for content. And today I was really sort of like looking at some of the things. I went to a CD shop, and so the new Peggy's release, they had like their whole display for it, which was really cool as well. They also had one for the new Humpback release. The interesting thing is that they had like a listening thing, and the listening thing, you get that, and then you get a little display, and then you select which CD you want to listen to. But the machines, like a lot of them were broken. They would only select CD1 in Tower Records, which I thought was really bad, which means that Humpback, on all the ones it was displayed at, was CD free every time, so I didn't manage to listen to it. But obviously we were listening to Humpback. I think when we did them last was their very first ever single, I believe. If someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was. And then we covered them, I think, when they were live before they had their first single, so it'd be really nice to jump in on that. So I was trying to get a bit of a head start on that. Oh, my computer's dusty. So yeah, it'd be nice to go back to them, but I was looking at just getting a bit ahead of what stuff was coming out at the moment, because I've been visited a friend, and we were at a cafe in Shinjuku, so they gave me an opportunity to visit the Tower Records there, which is near to the station, and yeah, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, so I've been trying to get ahead of that, but that means I've got a lot of content planned. I'm really mixing up the lengths of videos, so there's a lot of stuff that's still delayed. The album reviews are delayed, but as I said, I've re-recorded them now, so they'll be coming soon. They're still longer videos than most of the other ones, so I've got to jump on them. Did a couple of single reviews I have to get onto. I also want to do some reviews where I do slightly more short ones in between the longer ones, so basically just go in depth as is necessary for the audience. So if it's something small that maybe most people haven't heard, I'll just sort of give a brief opinion, short video, pass it on to you guys, and let you guys have a listen and maybe follow the band more if you're interested. Or if it's a band that we're really into, then obviously I'll do a more in-depth analysis, a more in-depth review of those artists. Yeah, sort of thinking about things like that. The minute-long videos that were coming from the survey thing was only partially successful. Those minute-long videos, those are definitely still in the pipeline. Again, those ones are not ones I can record outside. I need to record the audio direct to microphone, so I'm really thinking about where I can go to do that. I might hire one of these rooms and stay in one of these for a night and just sort of record the scripts for a bunch of them and then just do one of them in here. The karaoke places are now reopened, but karaoke rooms are so much more expensive than these rooms. And you can hear people through the walls, which these are quite soundproof. I wonder why. Alright, let's have a look and see what everyone's saying. Please leave a like on this video, or perhaps donate to GMR's Patreon so we can recommend him some Rolling Stones songs so that he can remember their lyrics and get these jokes. Oh no, I get these. I get all these jokes. I know the Rolling Stones nice and well. But yeah, please donate anyway. No, I don't know anything to donate. Also, pay for any copyright violations in the chat. I miss record shops. becoming more and more rare in the US. Only use vinyl these days. Only used vinyl shops. Yeah, it's funny because I pop in the lid. In Japan, there are less and less CD shops, but it's interesting, you will occasionally see one being opened. And the idea of seeing a CD shop open in 2021 is amazing. Alright, anyway, as I'm up to date with chat, apparently, chat's a little bit slow today, which is fine. One of the other things, obviously, we've had a lot of new features. I hope everyone's enjoyed the shorts. I've had a bit of fun with the shorts again this week. I like doing a little hiatus one. It's funny, I was surprised one person disliked that. I thought, wow, is this someone who just doesn't take the joke, or are they just trying to tell me, Howard, you're not funny? At first I was like, I can't believe someone would be offended by this video, but then I realised maybe it's just someone going, Howard, you're not funny, don't do that anymore. Let's just see how the figures are going for that one at the moment. Yeah, the YouTube app as well, it's getting worse and worse. It's really kind of almost intolerable now. Like I was trying to use my phone, the computers, I was trying to use the phone to get into the live chat and it wouldn't let me back in. It was like, no, you can't get back into it. I was in it a minute ago. So I went to my history. I thought, well, I'll just pick it up from my history, and then just removed it from my history. It was just irritating. Let's use the 10. Yeah, 37 likes and 1 dislike. Yeah, you gotta love that. Someone disliked that video. I thought that was fun. I enjoyed doing that. But as well as that, obviously I've been keeping some questions rolling up on the community page, which is always a lot of fun, and that's something we're going to review today. We're going to review your answers to the questions. Now, I was going to go through the comments. I didn't have a chance to really copy the comments if I wanted to, but do jump in the comments on those later if you wanted to. But start with our first one. What was the first one that we got here? Okay, and OBS is going to fight me on this. Okay, it's not going to let me move that. Alright, so the question was, what do you want to see next from Miku and Klupa? And I said more, so I said 2 options for more music. Either more music like Peace and Love and more music like Flapping Wings, because I'm aware those are very different songs. In the pop stance, and it's certainly in the stance of a vision for the future. Then maybe more, but after at least another Bandmate album, and it was fun, but we don't need any more. Now, interestingly, 22% said it's fun, but we don't need any more, which I'm surprised. But actually, I guess not so surprised. I guess a lot of those people wanted to hear, and I did see some of the comments, a lot of those wanted to just see different projects from Bandmate. It's like, okay, that was fun, and the same we had Band Michael and the new Ived on it, so let's see what the next one to come up is. So it's something that clearly doesn't appeal to them long term, just there, but it was just like a fun temporary thing. Interestingly, that 40% maybe more, but after another Bandmate album. I kind of expected that to. A lot of these ones came up with the answers that I expected to hear from you guys, and that one I kind of felt was what most people were going to go for. Interesting enough, though, if you add together the 2 options for people who want at least some new material ASAP, that still adds up to 37%, so nearly as many. And of that, more people. 24 went for Peace and Love, only 13 for Flapping Wings. I was hopeful at first because Flapping Wings got the first votes, but then it quickly fell down to last place. So anyway, that was a cool one. I was kind of happy with that. Kind of as expected, but it's always nice to see that kind of thing coming up. Let's look and see what everyone's saying. Don't really exist in Germany anymore either. I mean, we can go back to an in-depth analysis of IKEA. I'm really confused now. Really good record CD t-shirt merch shop in Cardiff, but then they are stuck in a time warp. Possibly. Where's the, right, I'm trying to work out what Nagoon's responding to. What did I say? Did I? Yeah, this is the problem, is when it's, sometimes I don't catch up on these on time. Context is always useful. Well, they'll have enough time to do stuff in 2023. I think that Nagian's referring to my comment on content, perhaps, but I must have said something to which that was a direct reply, so apologies, I can't quite put my finger. I know that you're saying something more specific than I'm getting, so my apologies. Martin says, there used to be an iconic landmark in downtown Toronto called Sam the Record Man. Never went there, but it certainly stood out when you drove by it. Unfortunately, it closed down. HMV was, I'm guessing this Landmark was a Landmark shop. HMV was a big chain here too, but they shut down. Now there's just Sunrise Records, and that's a bit I've never heard of it. HMV is still in Japan because they still have like someone's bought the name out in Japan, I believe. However, like for example, most of the biggest HMVs have been replaced with Tsutaya, which is a very big like CD and media shop here. So like HMV's most famous location was they were right on Shibuya Crossing, the big famous crossing in Tokyo. There isn't really that much there unless you're into expensive fashion stuff, but still it's a very famous place. And they had a big store right on that corner. One of the first record stores I ever visited. I mean, it's only like a 5-minute walk away from the famous Shibuya Tower Records, but obviously, whereas Tower Records is more known to the music fans because that's huge, that one in Shibuya. The HMV was the more famous one overall because of the location. So yeah, that's really interesting. You were talking about chat being slow. Oh, see, there you go. So I knew you were replying to something that I would miss. My apologies, but yeah, actually, when chat gets slow, talk about IKEA until it picks back up again. All right, let's look at the second survey that we had. And our second survey was, all right, so how close to genre shows would you like, sir? So this was after our previous conversation about genres and separating of them in live chat. So basically, each one is more and more detailed than last. So for pop and rock are too complex to separate. We had 17%, so that was as close as they think it needs to be cut, and I respect that. Although I would be comfortable separating pop and rock in most circumstances, as I said before, I'm more than happy to say there's a grey area between the two. The next one was rock and metal are too complex to separate. We got 0% for that. No one said that. Interesting, because I would say if anyone says pop and rock, then I'd say someone must fall into rock and metal. Now I'm not saying that anyone's I'm not claiming anyone to be disingenuous, but I suspect that most people would almost feel bad saying that, because I think for lots of the bands that we follow are rock or metal, and I feel like if you're into either of those genres and you can't tell the two apart, then you would probably feel a lesser fan, perhaps. But I do still accept that there are options on here that might be more preferable. But I knew that was going to be a low one. I'm surprised that was genuinely 0, because we did still get like a good sort of 35 votes. Yeah. For hard rock and metal are too complex to separate, we got 5%. Again, I just find it interesting that those two options, the ones which are most central to what I think most people on this channel are fans of, were the ones that got the lowest percentage. So I don't know whether it's just guys being more experienced with those, but I really thought that hard rock and metal too complex to separate would at least get a few more votes than that. Metal subgenres are too complex to separate. Maybe it's just this one dragging people towards it, because 23%. But actually, the one that kind of made me happy was when I got to the bottom, and 54% said genres are meaningless for broader discussion. I'd like to think that the other options that weren't selected were more just because people being gravitated towards this one, because I do kind of agree. I think genres are heavily overused, so yeah, I don't know, but I thought that was really, I liked the responses to that. Let's just have a quick look, move on to C quickly, because we spoke mostly about genres last week. We don't need to go over that one again. Think about your favourite bands. If you had to declare one of these as their strongest quality, what would it be? So this was interesting. This was the first question where I felt, rather than asking just your opinion, this was the first question where I really felt it asked for a bit of self-reflection, because obviously most people are going to think that their favourite bands, artists, have all of these elements to a quality, or at least most of them. So it's a case of, can you honestly look at yourself and see which one stands out most to you? Not necessarily the one that is their best quality, just the one that to you is the primary quality. So I thought this was very interesting as a sort of self-reflective one, and I really appreciated it. Was 44 votes. So many people went along with this, and these basically, I screen captured all of these in the last hour or so these are pretty up to date. But I was, like I said, I was really impressed by this one. How many people actually dived in and took the plunge on this. Musicianship, 18%. Again, I was interested because I thought that was going to be higher, but I think that may be people gravitating towards more preferential ones. 14% for unique sound. Again, impressed. I think that's a good answer. 7% for catchiness. I'm going to skip ahead to that. 7% for catchiness. Kind of glad. I mean, I love catchy music, but I think, yeah, there are bands who I like for just being catchy. I don't have any of my favourites I just like for being catchy. Still, I respect anyone who has anyone who has the guts to say that. I got respect for you because catchiness is a damn important quality. And remember, it's one of the hardest ones to do. I always say the simplest things are the hardest to invent. I think that rule applies for catchiness as well. People think catchiness is the simplest quality, but doing it good, that's hard. So, yeah, massive respect for anyone who put that down. Don't know if it necessarily would be my choice, but I'm fine for it. I was surprised though, personality and presence got 27%. And I think that kind of shows how music is such a rounded thing. It's not just about the sort of writing sides that I whinge on about. I'm always bleating about writing as being the main thing, but personality and presence is a big one. Then again, my video about Silent Siren recently, that actually, I still think that was more about the music than anything, but I think there was a degree of their personalities came into that. But I was really interested. That got 27% of the vote. I was very happy to see song arrangements as 34. Now, someone did say in the comments that I seem to remember something along the lines of song arrangements. They said something along the lines of, well, if you put songwriting. I deliberately didn't put songwriting. The reason being is I didn't want to separate writing and arrangements into two separate things. And I think writing can sometimes be a little bit of a muddy subject. What some people think constitutes writing is maybe a bit more complicated, and I also wanted to drag in the fact that there's some people who just kind of like the way a sound's layered up, you know. I mean, if you like the way that a band sounds layered up, the way that they, you know, sort of arrange things, not just a unique sound, but they've got a sound where everything kind of, the arrangements work well. Because, you know, arrangement is somewhere between writing and, you know, production, I guess you could say. But if you like that, I don't want you to feel alienated by the term songwriting. So I thought that was the preferable one. It covers all of those areas, and thus I'm happy that it got 34% of the vote. But yeah, all of those, I respect all 5 of those options. I respect all the options I put in all these questions, or I wouldn't put them there. But that one I wasn't sure if it'd come out that way, but I was certainly happy that it did. That was great. Just from my personal preference. As well, you can see what everyone's saying up at this point. Okay, I'm just back from local band concert. Cool, thank you, Red. Hi, Red. Yeah. What do I miss? What do you miss on a regular basis, or what did you miss? I'm not going to be personal. What did you miss? Mainly just me talking about new shoes, what this room is. I'm not going to explain it again, but certainly feel free to go back and check that out afterwards if you'd like. And yeah, I hope and also now we're going through some of the survey results from this week. Hope you had a nice time. Hope it was a good concert, by the way. I'm going to speed up with the comments. Bleats is saying HMV clings to life in the UK vinyl section, growing as they can charge more for low quality. HMV died like over a decade ago in the UK, I thought, unless someone's bought the name out again. But I remember when HMV disappeared and all their shops closed. Like literally all of them, unless there had been some which had been kept alive outside of that. So that's interesting. I should check that. Actually, I think James might have said something about that. Maybe I'm just thinking that though. Interesting. There was a rousing discussion about Swedish meatballs, IKEA in general. What was about those meatballs? Oh god. On the contrary, I think you couldn't tell the difference. You would probably like them more rather than less. I think that's a logical conclusion. I'm not saying that that's the logical truth. I'm just saying that that's what I think people perceive. I think that's people's emotional reaction. I agree with you in the reality of it, but I think people's emotional response to a question like that is probably different. I'm assuming we're talking about the hard rock metal thing again. It was overpriced in my country, though. I can definitely find a better meatball here in the region. Quick Google search shows 4 CD shops in my general area, 1 listed as temporarily closed. Well, virus stuff is not going to help with that. But still, yeah. Haven't actually. You get that a lot here as well. There'll be obviously a lot more CD shops, but a lot of them are temporarily closed because a lot of them are small, privately run ones. I haven't actually. Maybe they're not doing so well financially. Haven't actually eat IKEA meatballs. I'm gonna let those comments slide. I don't think I've got anything to say about IKEA meatballs beyond what I've said. Some people who associate songwriting strictly with lyrics. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I did actually think of putting lyrics as a separate thing, but then I thought, again, no, I don't know if that was really pertinent to the conversation I wanted to have. I did think putting lyrics in as an option, but you've got a good point. So some people do genuinely think songwriting is lyrics. There are some artists who say they write their own songs who only write their own lyrics. I can promise you that. Not many, but it does exist. Although I think most people here, myself included, associate it more with composition and arrangement. Yeah, again, I try to be very careful with the wording of these. In fact, there's only one of these surveys where I wasn't able to get the wording right just because it didn't give me enough room. But we'll come on to that in a minute. Usually associate song arrangement with just the musical composition parts again. That's fine. Yeah, composition connected to writing in of itself. So, yeah. I know you might mean composition as in the balance of the composition, but still, those are terms that themselves don't have particularly clear-cut areas, but I deliberately, from talking to people who both are experienced with music and not experienced with music, I worded those options to try and bring together the rough feelings. And from what you guys are saying, I think I've got the wordings right, and your answers really interesting. All right, let's have a look at this one. So we've got here, oh yeah, this was an interesting one. I just asked for it. What do you enjoy most on this channel? Videos, live chat, videos in Discord, live chat and Discord. Those last two are just to really hoover up a case of how many of the people answering the question are people who are actively involved in these sorts of things. Because as I've said, I'm aware that a lot of the people, I mean, I noticed from a lot of other channels that use these polls, that often they will comment themselves that they get a lot of responses from people who are clearly subs and clearly followers of their channel, but who they haven't never had any direct communication with. The sort of silent followers who I've always said I really appreciate those people, because I know I am one of those for many of the channels that I like. You know, I'll sort of silently follow, and I won't really get involved in any of the discussions because I just kind of want it as side entertainment. But it is true, these surveys are good for getting to hear their voices as well. So those last 2 points were in there just to sort of see, because I figured anyone who's on the Discord even slightly regularly is going to put down one of the last two options. So interestingly, those two only account for 16%, whereas the other two account for 84%. So it really does give you an idea of what a sort of silent majority there are of people who just kind of follow the channel. I was glad to see that 72% of them say the videos. I noticed from our stats that we get a lot of return viewers, again, a lot of return viewers who don't take part in any of the other social medias. And there is a 12%, I thought this was quite, I actually found this really endearing in a weird way. There's a 12% who like the live chat but don't seem to have any real preference for the Discord, which means that there's some people who just come along just to chat and listen to the chat, which, considering some of the disturbing stuff I say on some of these chats, I'm glad that they come back. But yeah, I mean, again, I always talk about and show a lot of appreciation where I can for people on, obviously, our Patreon. I mean, when I say lifeblood of the channel, I'm really not joking there. So many things I've got through in the last few years, couple of years at least, thanks to you guys, as well as the support from everyone when I left Hackable. But yeah, and obviously there's a lot of time communicating with and listening to the opinions of people on Discord. So it's really lovely to see that there's so many people, and there's genuinely people who live chat is their main preference. There's only 12%. That's like 1 in 8 of the channel's followers, people who would follow enough to respond to a little survey, which is still going to be a fairly large number of people. 1 in 8 of them, their preference is that. Oh, we've got 25 votes, so that means at least 3 people selected that. So I think that's great. That's really good. Gives me a nice idea of what kind of numbers we're looking at there. So I might as well move on to the next question, and I'll check what's going on in chat. So yeah, next one. This one's actually no, it didn't surprise me after I started to see it come through. Which is your favourite bandmate album? Simple, easy, direct question. Now we've got 42 votes on this, and the answer is pretty clear. As you can see, Unseen World got 52%. Now I would argue as well, and maybe people will disagree with this, I think that those stats are in direct heaviness order. See, at first I thought that Unseen World would still be an album that people were getting used to and they wouldn't put it as their favourite quite yet. But I think first of all it's a testament to how good the band are, that people don't just say, oh, the old album's the best, that people are willing to declare the newest album as their favourite. I think that's a really strong testament to the quality of the band. Most of those bands where people just get stuck on saying, oh, their first album was the best or something like that, either it's just there's something wrong with the band or that the fandom is maybe a little bit stuck in hierarchy loop, perhaps. But sometimes they're right. Don't get me wrong, sometimes they're right. But in the case of this, it's really great to see people seeing the new album as the best. Everyone already knows what my favourite one still is. Not a huge number of votes. I do remember though, obviously, when we started doing this, we started covering Bandmade around that time World Domination was still going through its promotion. But I think most, if not all, of World Domination was already out at the point we did this. Started covering Bandmade on the original channel, back at Breakdown. And I remember at the time everyone was kind of saying, oh yeah, World Domination's good, but just bring it. That's the quintessential Bandmade album. That's the best out of Bandmade album. There was a load of people saying, just bring it. That's the album. You got to check that out. All the best songs are on there. And interestingly, now a couple of albums later, it only gets 10% of the vote. Not saying it's a bad album, but it just shows how much people enjoyed their recent output. As I've said before, World Domination has some of my all-time favourite Bandmade songs now. I think it's got a collection of really good songs now. I just think that as an album, it does chug along in a slightly less... It's not quite as engaging. It doesn't flow as well as the other albums, because I think it kind of just sticks in one gear. But still, I totally respect anyone who gives that a vote. I totally respect that, because it has got some insanely good songs on there. Some of the best. Unseen World is a fantastic album. Just for me, again, there's certain variations that I know the band can do that I was kind of sad not to see more of, but I have a huge respect for that album technically, and I just love some of the things they achieved on there. For me, Conqueror still lands as the best mix, although I say that ironically. I know there's some issues with the studio side of it. Some of the songs are some of the best produced and best mixed songs, and some of them are by far the worst. So it's a bit of a patchy album, but I think for me, I'm a songwriting nerd, as you guys know, and I just love the writing on it and the performances. It's so varied, so eclectic. But anyway, again, love the answers. These surveys have been really interesting. Now the last two are a little bit more predictable. Let's have a look at chat first of all. Oh, by the way, do feel free to press like if you want. I didn't see those until now. Just voted on all of them. If you look now, you'll know that I voted for... I like that. I can probably guess though. I think we know each other well enough that I can probably guess your answers to most of them. You've just messed all the results. Yeah, he suddenly finds out that he has like a veto power of 10 votes. I'll be honest, I don't care all that much about how well written the instrumentation is written beyond music competency. I focus my attention mainly on the vocals. I don't like a cappella singing, so instrumentation is important, just not as much as the vocals. Yeah, I noticed you've always been more into like lyrics and vocals. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I love good lyric writing. My problem is that lyricism is difficult, because lyricism is what the song is about tonally, and I guess you could convert this to music, but I think that there's enough facets to make it different. The problem with lyrics is there's only so many things you can write about, and you can go more overboard, but people tend not to, and that can be very hit and miss anyway. Sometimes that's great, but I tend to find that for me, 95% of the songs I listen to, the lyrics might be good, but they're never that much of a wow to really make them something where I go, oh, that's why I listen to the song. And then it'll probably be like 5%, probably about 1 in 20 songs where I'll be like, the lyrics are a big part of why I enjoy this. Of course, you all know the quintessential example, Get Ready to Cry With Me, Yoshida-san by Silent Siren. That song, the lyrics really turned around for me because it recontextualized the whole song. And after that, and certainly after talking to Harry as well, that's when I started not really completing my reviews until at least I skimmed through the lyrics and just made sure I understood everything. Because picking up a word every here and there is what I usually did, but that song really proved that you need to be careful. So I certainly agree that can be the case, but I would say that for me is always like a potential cherry on the cake that may or may not be served. But if it is served, great. speaks to recency base IMO. Oh, recency bias. In regards to what? Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not sure what that's a reply to, so I can't really comment, but I'm sure, again, I'll be going to comment, I'm sure it's about something interesting, but I just can't work out what you're referencing there. At least nobody came with brand new made. Yeah, I was thinking about putting those older albums in there, but I figured everyone would, if I just deliberately kept it only to the self-written albums, that people would know that's what I was doing, so I just, kind of like as the band do live, they pretty much stick to their own self-written songs for 95% of the time. To use that statistic again, those stats, almost 50% of people don't prefer the most recent release. Yes, but still, I mean, that tends to be the case. It tends to take people a while to settle, to feel comfortable that the most recent release is their favourite, because they've already got attachments to older albums. So I still think that that's an amazingly high figure. But yes, you do make an interesting counter observation there, certainly. Wasn't an option, says Martin. Did anyone vote B&M in the comments? I didn't see anyone vote B&M in the comments. Sammy, maybe Martin, I missed the poll, so don't know. Okay, a bit of internal conversation there, so I'm going to skip over that unless someone wants to highlight anything I should have picked up on. I've only listened to Manners off Unseen World. I was at the height of my recent illness when it came out, that is true, and in my irritation, all the hype around the album put me off listening to it, and I never got back around to listening to it. Yeah, I can imagine that. I've had that a little bit before. It's a barrier that I usually overcome, but yeah, no, I can imagine in your circumstance, certainly. If you've been COVID jabbed, we know everything you think anyways is all broadcast over your new 5G brains. And best thing, I never lose my keys. And just stick them to me. Never lose them. It's amazing. Man, I love these nanobots. Mara says, in regards to the band made albums vote. Speaks to recency, but of course I should have worked out what you meant there, yeah. Well, as I said, I don't think recency bias is in bands that have we had a conversation similar to this the other day, because we were talking about bands that go on a decline, was what we were talking about, and you actually spoke a lot in favour of the concept that recency bias is a stronger thing. I would say it's definitely a thing, but I would say that people having an emotional attachment to an older thing, in my experience, seems to be the more powerful of the two. Also because it gives them, when we're talking about larger fandoms, and maybe this is just a reflection of the fact that as we have and I say this not to be snobby, but because it seems to pan out due to the way we discuss things on this channel, we tend to have a higher quality of music fan on this channel than a lot of other places. But I think that a lot of the time that attachment to older stuff is partly as well because there's that hierarchical element to it. Whereas, so like, if you're a fan of a band certainly who's on the up, and then new fans come in, you know, you can say, oh well, yeah, their best album was the one that came out long before you arrived. There's a lot of fans who maybe subliminally, but they do that, and they do that, and it makes them feel kind of good. So just kind of saying. Maybe I made that sound more cynical than it really is, but I think there's a lot of people who subliminally do that. Mariah says mostly stick to their own self-written songs. R.I.P. their parts. Yeah, and you know a lot of people really like Thrill, but you know, I had to chop off some bits in this one. I just wanted to sort of make it smaller. But if we're going down to individual songs, we already did a top 25. Right, says, oh sorry, I skipped over Sammy's comment. Harry, Unseen World is a difficult album. The songs need multiple listens to get them. Black Hole or Afterlife are good examples. I kind of hated them first, now I love them now. There are certain bits that changed a bit, but I don't think it was as much of a grower for me as it was for a lot of other people. I think I kind of got what it was first listen. Some of the songs, yeah, they settled in differently maybe after 3 listens, maybe 4. but most of them just kind of became more and more what I thought they were. But yes, it's definitely a difficult album because it throws a lot at you very quickly. So I think it's more a case of it's either going to be an album that works for you, and then maybe you just need a few listens just to let it settle in, or it's going to be an album that doesn't work for you and it's just not going to settle in however hard you try. I guess they could say that for many things, but that's just me kind of verbalizing my thoughts, at least just in regards to this. Right, does recency bias include when people first get into a band? It seems a lot more fans get into them in the last 2 albums, perhaps. Are we talking specifically about Bandmate? I mean, that's just the band growing. I guess if you surveyed people who are recent fans and asked, well, do you prefer the albums that have come out around the time you've been a fan more than the old ones? It'd be interesting to see what they say. I wonder, I've never really thought about that in much depth because I tend not to prod that particular area so much, and maybe I should. But I wonder if there would be a few of them who try to fast track their level of fandom by deliberately saying they like an older album, even if it predated their fandom. But I don't know. I haven't really tested that one out, and I think that could go either way. So it'd be interesting if anyone's got an opinion on that. I can't really say I could give a fair comment. I'm trying to think of any examples, but I guess I never really asked for the opinions of new fans that much, and maybe that again goes against me. Maybe I'd find out more if I did. And again, a high quality of music fan on this channel. I should probably be. Nah, man, you're one of the higher quality of music people out here, man. We need like this range of opinions that we have. No, I mean, like I said, I disagree with a lot of what people say here, but it's the fact that when they say it, what they believe, it seems to come from an honest place. There's none of that, you know, I am this person, thus I am right, or I like this, so you are wrong. That's what I mean. There's none of that crap. As far as I'm concerned, it says, well, hype exists in its own vacuum and means very little in terms of what I expect from something. Hype can certainly draw attention to something and has no bearing on quality. There are albums that definitely live up to their hype, but also countless others that are vastly overrated. At the end of the day, just listen to the album yourself and use your ears. Again, I mean, I feel this way about a lot of your comments, Mark. I think you're factually correct. I suspect that maybe you were because I mean, we all know, we've seen like the things you've done, like the article you did about favourite albums from various years and stuff like that. We all know that you are very, you know, you're someone who, like myself, although maybe in a different way, very passionate about music. And so I get the feeling that your comments often are so, like, you're so correct about the attitude that people should take that maybe you give people too much credit. I mean, there's a lot of people who are also passionate but don't really want to put in that level of work. You know, sort of people who they really love music, but if you said, all right, well, here's 50 albums, go listen to them over the next couple of months, they'd probably get through like 5 of them. Because they're not, you know, they just kind of like being into music more than they really are love the art form and want to just sort of take in lots and be wowed by it. Again, that's not necessarily against them. I mean, psychologically speaking, they, you know, sort of very clearly documented that there are people who can feel comfortable without the need for new things. I can't remember exactly what the line is on the Bricks My Young thingy, but yeah, there are people who are like that. It doesn't mean they like it any less, but so you know, there are people who are, you know, they don't listen to much new music, they just know what they like, and thus they are likely to be swayed by hype. You know, people saying you really need to listen to this, and therefore their passions towards music are probably going to be slightly swayed by that kind of thing. And there are just some people who are easily swayed, you know. You know, if they're told something is good, it appeals to that part of them that wants to believe things are, you know, I think you're coming at it from a very logical angle, and I agree. I just think that, yeah, we have to accept there's a lot of people who are swayed by hype and things like this. I know you weren't saying that that's not the case, but I think that it does play a big part in it. And so I think the majority of fans who we see on, shall we say, more general fan page type websites, they are definitely playing like a hierarchy game. There's a lot of them who are playing, maybe not the majority, but certainly of the vocal people, the majority are playing the hierarchy game of trying to be the bigger fan. Maybe I'd have to survey that to know, but certainly there's very visible signs of it in a lot of places. So I like the conversations we have here because people defend what they like in a realistic, honest, and usually quite well balanced, if passionate but well balanced way, as you have done there. Fans will generally prefer the sound of the album that drew them in. I think that can be true. If the sound strays too much away from that, they probably won't be so keen. With Bandmade, few overseas were there early. Well, I mean, there's obviously a logical component in that, and the album that drew you in is obviously it drew you in because that's the kind of music you like. So if you get into an album, if you get into a band because they did, if you get into Bandmade because they did Made in Japan, then you're probably not really going to be, by this point, a Bandmade fan, because the majority of the music they do is not the kind of music that maybe really works for you, unless you just happen to also like the style that they went into later, which is perfectly possible. But so there is a logical component to that, and I do totally agree. That makes sense. For me, I got into Bandmade when you guys were showing me a lot of the stuff I first listened to as well, Donation and Just Bring It, but then Conqueror just kind of landed a little bit more. If anything, they veered a little bit towards my preference at that point, or at least an element of my preference. And Niggin says, and if the band strays too far, then people come out with sound pitchforks. Depends on the genre you started in, but I've already done a whole video on that. Again, that's a very complicated one, but I think, yeah, people do react kind of heavily to it. There's so many things I could say about that. I'm just going to stick with, yeah, I did a whole video about that. I'm getting message. Oh, okay, no problem. Scott says, logically, someone isn't going to sell, well, I really don't like this album. I'll say, I really don't like this album. I just should go listen to their other albums just in case. Yeah, again, I think that's going back to the point that Rev said, and I'm certainly not going to deny that. Yeah. So I don't know if you're responding to what I said or Rev said, but yeah, I totally agree again. Martin, higher quality of talking utter rubbish on Discord. I've personally brought the standard up to complete joy. Less I say, the better. Howard, what are the next videos that will be uploaded? I remember before I said to you, people, hey, do you guys want me to tell you what videos will be uploaded? People said as a general they wanted the surprise. There's a few that's working through. The Patreon one is one that's like super overdue, so I want to finish that, but it really means a lot to me to do that in good quality. And as I said, I had to go outside and re-recorded them, which required a lot of location shooting. It's been very windy the last few days. That kind of halted a lot of things. I mean, that's what the Silent Siren video, I kind of had to get that out quickly, but you know, it was a very beautiful location, but I was really kind of annoyed about the sound on that one. So because those two album reviews that are the most important ones to get out, I already feel bad that I'm having to do them outside now, but I'd feel even worse if I dropped something that was just like full of wind sound. So I re-recorded them. Pretty sure I'm happy with them. I've got a couple more bits to do on one of them, so I have to wait till it's a good day. I also did one. I know this is a bit outside of our normal scope, but obviously we've occasionally gone past Dreamcatcher, and Dreamcatcher did a song that I found quite interesting, so I did a couple of notes on that. I haven't finished the video, but I want to finish that one sometime soon, put that out. But I have a lot of artists I want to cover at the moment. I want to talk about the new Humpback song. Aimyon, the pop singer, she's done something interesting recently that I wanted to have a little bit of talk about. Peggy's, that's one I want to talk about as well. I want to do these short videos, like the quick introduction videos for Bandmade. I can't really be sure, at the moment the ones that come out first are simply the ones I finish. You'll get some ones like the Dreamcatcher one where I know there's not like there's a lot of people who watch it, but there's not like a huge demand in our core following that I usually hear about. There's some people who are interested in it, but it's not everyone's thing. So as a result of that, it just kind of comes together a little bit by little bit between things. And then you get some things, like I say, it will be like a Silent Siren or a Bandmade or a Scandal thing where I'll know there's genuinely people interested, so I'll push that through nice and fast. So it's very hard sometimes to know exactly what comes next, but fair question. The high bar of the mentality of junior high kids laughing at fart jokes in the back of the class. I like that example. Sammy has retracted a message. What terrible things you said, Sammy, I will never know. So Mirai says, I quite like Made in Japan, but I'm still a fan. They got plenty of change over time, but I like they try different things. I agree. I think any band worth their salt tries different things. It's not to say that you're going to like all of them as much as each other. You might like them all, but not as much as each other. However, I think anyone who started off with Made Japan, but then stayed into what they did subsequently, that's as much a praise of your wideness of taste if you were one of those few people. So I don't think one could say Bandmate are selling out with an album like Unseen World. I don't think anyone was saying that. I don't know if you're just sort of making a joke there, but if I'd be interested to where you got that impression from. Harry says, by the hype putting me off was that I felt the album was getting shoved down my throat by most of the YouTube reaction community, and while it wouldn't have bothered me normally, being sick and highly irritable just caused it annoyed the hell out of me. Yeah. Karaoke room today. You're going to have to go back to the beginning of this video to find out where I am then. It's not a karaoke room. It shares a lot of the qualities. Karaoke room was one of the places I did check out. Didn't go there, too expensive. McDonald's, checked out. Didn't go there, too noisy, and didn't have proper power outlet. So I'm at the other place, where one of the places that helped, a branch of one of the places that helped make this channel what it is. Guess again. Thanks. Again, we can find you some clouds to shake an angry fist at. Oh yeah, Harry. That huge how to use remote control instructions, yeah, that's kind of giving you a little bit of an idea of where I am. Gotta go where you gotta go, people. Gotta go where you gotta go. Alright, let's go move on, because we're over an hour now and I haven't finished going through all of the questions. So have a look at the next one. Okay, so this one was an interesting one, because I think a lot of people didn't notice. Now this is actually an old question. This is a question that first came up maybe even a couple of years ago. Actually, yes, because it was on. I posted this question originally on the original channel, so it would have been back in 2019. And a lot of people noticed what the caveat of this is. Now, you don't get enough room to write the full description of what it is, but let's have a look at this. This question is just cruel. Lifelong friends with your favourite artists, but no new music, or never meet them or see them live in person, but they continue. Now, I did manage to get, actually in this one, I did manage to say see them live in person. So sorry, actually I thought I must have edited that and put that back in. But yes, that was the caveat that people didn't notice the first time, is that this means that you will never see this band live. So the interesting thing about both of them is the one where you're friends with them, you get to actually see them live. You probably get to see them live a lot, but it'll only be the songs you know. So you have to be very contented with the songs they've already got, because there's not going to be anything new. However, they can go off and start new bands if they wanted to, and you'll still be their friend. But the other one, never meet them or see them live in person, but they continue, does mean that your favourite band keeps on being your favourite band. I thought this was going to cause a little bit more of a jostle between the two, but I'm interested in, I've got to admit, of the two, I would come down with the second one as well. Because, you know, taking it, I mean, you could take some other things aside, like, hey, if I'm the best friend of a famous artist, you know, maybe I can start a band with them, or maybe they'll maybe I'll be set for life because I can be part of their entourage. Obviously, taking apart stuff like that and just sort of sticking to the reality of the basics of the question, I would go for the second one, because if you like the artist, ultimately you want to hear their music, so keep on making music. I thought, considering the number of people who are really sort of live music oriented, that there would be more of a swing towards the first option. But I'm interested that more people agreed with where I would come down than I actually thought was going to be the case. So that's kind of cool. And the last question was just in regards again to the video about album covers. Do you prefer an artist on the album cover or an artwork that reflects the mood of the piece? Usually. And again, this was very heavily 89% artwork, only 11% artist on cover. I thought that was interesting because that went a little bit against what, one of the reasons I asked this was because of the rather mixed set of like answers that I got in the comments. But then when this was posed as a question for people to answer, you got like 28 votes at this time of counting, and people definitely balanced towards the artwork only option. So pretty cool. Alright, anyway, those are the questions that I got for today. Sorry, the poll questions that I wanted to give you guys the answer to. Let's have a little run through the little comments, because we've got a lot of comments coming in here. I agree with Sam before, at risk of sounding pretentious. I get that there are people who are more accepting of safe music, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah. Again, this is another thing that I wanted to convey with that Silent Siren video, is that saying, I think sometimes maybe I give off the wrong impression that I have a problem with music that is safe or simple. I think there's some people who think I'm actually biased towards that kind of music, that Howard's just into pop. And then there's some people who maybe think the other way, that think I'm like too, always sort of looking for facets in writing. And it's true of both. I like both of them. I guess I kind of prefer bands who are either one or the other, or very good at mixing, which is very rare. But I think one of the things I wanted to celebrate in that Silent Siren video was talking about the fact that there is a place for music that is easy. Easy doesn't have to be bad. Easy can be good. Simple can be engaging and detailed. The complications don't all have to be warm at the front. They can be more integral, more innate to what the actual thing is. So yeah, that's something I wanted to come across with. So yeah, thank you for mentioning that, because that really does play towards what I was saying there. So yeah, make a very good point. I've lost where I was on the comments. Oh, there we are. I was Moto who said that. Sorry. So sorry, about the selling out, I was answering again. He said if a band says too much from what fans expect. Oh, okay, yeah, but I don't. Was Unseen World that unexpected? I didn't think Unseen World was unexpected. Okay, it was a little bit more intense than I thought they were going to go for, but again, it was kind of the direction that they'd given every indication they were going to go for. And I think because I've got a good understanding of Pony Canyon, like I say, I also thought Pony Canyon were going to push them in the direction of, okay, be hard. That's what your fans like, because Pony Canyon are good at that kind of thing. They read the fans very well, most of the time. So I didn't find Unseen World unexpected in any way. But that's interesting to interpret it that way. Does lead you to the idea of could someone consider a band selling out for, because as I just said myself, that would, I think, be a commercially supported decision. So you could say they're going heavy. That's selling out the inverted way, selling out by going heavy rather than pop. But yeah, I don't think anyone thought Unseen World was selling out, but very interesting point nonetheless. Well, and again, different people have different standards and different criteria for things that stand out to them. Exactly. If you're like a die-hard fan of prog, then you're going to look at even the most complicated 4/4 rhythm song and say, no, too simple. Unseen World was a majority of what fans wanted Conqueror to be. I think that's true. Unfortunately, I would like to see their next album take the best of both. Have the ability, the sort of, there's two different types of impact. Like Conqueror has an impact that Unseen World doesn't have, and Unseen World has an impact that Conqueror doesn't have. I think if they could get that both together, I think ultimately Conqueror moves nearer towards doing two things. Whereas, like I said before, Unseen World, as fantastic as it is pretty much in one gear most of the time. So that's probably why Conqueror will still come down as my favourite for now. But yeah, I'm trying to think which one have I listened to more since the release of Unseen World. I still think, probably Conqueror. Especially when I was doing the top 25 and just the response to listening to Bubble again and really taking it in. So I think Conqueror still sits at number one, despite having some songs where I just go, don't. No new music, no new for you, or no new for the artist and the world. No new music. I'm going to have to get clarity on that one, sorry. Number 2 is basically where we are now. sorry, some of these comments. I know that I'm sure if I knew exactly what you're responding to, it'd be really easy to pick it up. But if I can't work it out, I'll have to skip over it, and hopefully someone will explain it to me later. I haven't seen any of the Japanese bands live yet, so pretty much living number 2 these days. Oh, okay, right. So you're talking about the number 2 option in that one. That's basically where we are now. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, not being able to see bands live. Yeah. I guess another reason why I was presenting that question. Well, you still have to think about the future, guys. No new music is kind of... Oh, actually, wait, maybe that... okay. Mirai says, no new music for... No new for you, or no new for the artist and the world? Well, I guess I would have to assume it's both. That's probably a fair dissection, but I think to assume there would be a world where you could be personally restrained from ever hearing the music would probably be to take a slight leap into the complicated universe building that I didn't want to quite go with. Let's just assume they have no new music for anyone. Probably the best thing to say there. Because obviously, like I said, in that option you still get to see them live. So what do? They just put headphones on or kick you out, or just everyone turns and looks at you and asks you to leave whenever a new song is played. No new music is kind of cruel to the artist, their creative output, and to the world and their fans. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, obviously, again, I'm asking you to take a selfish point of view on this. I probably should have worded that better. This is really about you being... You're too generous, you're too nice, you're too much of a good human being for my questions, Miro. Be a selfish person for this. The band are great because they are great with each other. Don't know which band we're talking about here. I have talked about 2 bands very recently. Sorry, I think most of the bands we know are great with each other, sorry. Oh yeah, I wasn't suggesting bandmate directly, it was more a general comment on how if some fans don't like what a band is doing something different, then it automatically selling out. Yeah, interesting point there, certainly. Again, I went into that in more detail already in the video. Except for the bands Howard broke up. Are you friends with them now? You know the truth. I was just airing out my own personal grievances so you could know what my plan was. So if you... That's why I haven't broken up the band who should not be named. So if you have the opportunity to go to a bandmate concert, seriously one of the best concert experiences I had in 40 years, and I saw Pink Floyd live. Yeah, I mean, I thought the concert I went to, the Shibuya Box one, was absolutely brilliant. That's another video I want to do, the having seen them live in 3 ways, DVD, online broadcast, and live. I should really finish that video. Haven't been to many concerts, in fact only 2, says Harry. Well, still, if they're good ones. That quality over quantity. I've had a Scandal concert ticket for over a year now. I really need to see Sign of the Siren before their hiatus, because obviously we had tickets to go to them and then they got cancelled. The Logic Truth Formula, Poison Warrant when I was high school, and Scandal in 2018. Interesting. Easy kill. Some people group. Okay, I'm just going to skip through some of these because I'm quite behind on the comments. Conquerors. A few songs similar to Bubble, so if you like Bubble, probably would like more. I don't know. I'm very much just. Oh wait, sorry. Okay, yeah. Similar in tone, but the video I did specifically returning to Bubble and explaining, because I'd never done a proper review of Bubble on this channel, so I returned to it and I did a breakdown of Bubble. The things that made me like it, I did kind of point out that just on its sound, one of the reasons why I'd never really noticed it as being high up in the list prior to quite late in doing the analysis of it, was because tonally it sounds like a lot of other band-made songs that are good but don't wow me as much. It's very much in the details why I think Bubble is so good. So I agree there are a lot of other, well, there's a few other songs on Conqueror that definitely have the same tone, but for me Bubble strikes out much stronger than any of them. That is a very interesting point. I would say that I think I covered that fairly well in the video analysis. Tell me if not, but I think I covered that fairly well. That's a very interesting point, though. I think overall, I probably, with exception of Bubble, most of the songs I most like on Conqueror are the ones which veer away from that, because I know that I can get that kind of song, not just on Conqueror, but also very much on World Domination. As I say, a lot of my favourite songs by Bandmade are on World Domination. However, World Domination for me is one of their most awkward and poor flowing albums, because it doesn't, it kind of does the same thing on repeat play a little bit too much compared to a lot of their other albums, whereas the individual songs are brilliant. So if anything, Bubble for me just sort of exemplified that same sound that exists on both albums, but did it in its very best form. Yeah, it's an interesting point, though. Interesting point. Russell says Unseen World is like being slapped in the face with a wet towel and ending up wanting to be slapped again. Concrete is a getaway drug and leaves you wanting more. I think that's very interesting how kind of both of your definitions, though, come back to the same thing, which is doing something abusive to yourself and then wanting it to happen again. That's how you see Bandmade. My best concert I've been to, Next Music from Japan, when I was living in Vancouver, the bands performing were absolutely killed it. Don't even really know most of them. Cool. That's cool. Yeah, so seeing a lot of new bands. There's no music for everyone. You can go to karaoke with them as friends, though. I was thinking if I went to a karaoke room today, I was thinking, shall I sing some songs? But now I'll get copyrighted for that. Well, Through the Roof and the crowd had tons of energy. Had to sound like a hipster, but Stereo got performed at the concert before anyone knew who they were. Well, oh, that's what two. I thought you meant half 2 of 2, 1 of 2, 2 of 2. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I've been kind of enjoying Stereo actually, so I should check out more of them anyway. Wasn't Regal Lily touring on calendar again as well? The comment on they're so great with each other in regards to their resembling with other artists. It may not have the same. Is in regards to them resembling with other artists, it may not have the same. That may not have the same. Are we talking about Silent Siren or Bandmade? Because the comment seems to reference more what I was saying about Silent Siren than it does Bandmade. But then we've been talking about Bandmade a lot recently, so I probably should ask you to. I'd say with Bandmade, they have great chemistry. But I think the thing that makes them work, maybe it comes from it must come from their chemistry to a certain degree, but it's just quite literally the music, I think, is a big thing, and then the personalities are a bonus. No idea, not particularly interested in Same Fair. Regal Lily was Next Music in 2016. Stop after all. As you guys know, I've gone a bit off the boil with Regal Lily, but that's fair enough. I know they're still very popular. Bubble to me, it was classic rock, but done in Bandmade style. I think that's what they seem to want it to be, but it didn't feel like that to me. It didn't. It felt quite. Yeah, I know it had some of those facets, but I think it felt to me like something that superseded that in a quite a noticeable way. Interesting. Yeah, no, to me, I think some of their other songs of a similar style feel like classic rock done better. To me, Bubble, just the writing and the arrangement was not reminiscent of classic rock. That, to me, is where it went in a very different direction. And I think it took some things that were more from, I don't want to say positive mainstream, but from alternative pop style writing. It had a real awareness of arrangement that sounded more like a sort of alternative pop song, but with the rock energy. And again, wanting to do something abusive to yourself and then wanting to do it again, perfect common. Alright, yeah, okay. I should have seen that coming. Again, perfect comment for the room. Rev, my disappointment with Conqueror was that I heard all my favourite songs on the album before I got the album, and I got it as soon as it came out. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you too much on that one. Certainly most of them. It was a great album. I've seen people do cover songs on YouTube and be okay. No YouTube strikes, however it was, like with acoustic guitar and karaoke. Yeah, when I did the budget song covers, I've re-uploaded them to this channel. Some of the first videos that were re-uploaded to this channel, they seem to have got through the copyright blender. So you can get away with it, but it is a difficult one. especially considering, as the copyright analyzing software gets better and better, they'll find more and more, so you might be okay for several years and then get caught out later. I really want to keep on doing those budget covers. Maybe I'll get a new channel to put them on, but it's just more work. Harry Howard, I feel your size so pain. The only other artist besides Scandal I want to see live is Babe Metal, and more now only the Fox God knows. Yeah, that's why I kind of referenced it comically in that short video. True lot of MV songs. In reference to. Oh yes, yeah. Yeah, there is certainly a certain style of song which is like the band-made safe, which is the one that always gets most of the time gets the music videos. Probably have to start over. They're like, nah, you know what? If we're going to do something different, let's just keep it to ourselves and put it on the album and see what people say. I still like Start Over, even if the video is utterly annoying. Mark, regardless of what you think of the songs or whatever else, Babe Metal did put on a hell of a show. I think their songs are very admirable. I think their songs to me are even more important than their show, because they genuinely did something interesting with metal. Kind of didn't reinvent the wheel, but they managed to really use the wheel to its best purpose. Just have to do it your own style, I suppose. Maybe out of tune as well. I can certainly do that. New Peggy album is good. I've already played it through at least 6 times. Yeah, I will definitely be giving the Peggy's album a little bit of a listen. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to buy it yet, but it's available. Alright guys, anyway, look, we've been going for a good hour and a half pretty much now. It is nearly 3 o'clock in the morning. And as much as I appreciate all of you, barely touched this beer. So, I think I'm going to check myself out of here, head back home and get working on some stuff. I'm going to be up for at least the next hour, so I've got some stuff to do. Just want to say thank you to you all anyway, and big appreciation. I've only got a few minutes until I have to check out of here. I think I have to check my leaving time, so probably a good time to do it anyway. Heard that Matsuya just won a tournament in Japan. Dude seems to be doing quite well. Don't know what that's in regards to. Don't know how much buzz he gets here. Matsuyama, just who's Matsuyama? It's clearly someone related to Babe Metal, I think. But a tournament? I'm confused. Alright. Maybe someone will tell me later. I have to go, Howard, how did you not know that? I want to say a big thanks to everybody. Thank you, Mirai. Thank you to Rev, the guy running the booth. Will be impressed you kept for nearly 2 hours. Okay. Someone will explain to me that. So I just wanted to say, well, he sold me a 3-hour ticket. So actually, yeah, I've got an hour left, but I'm not going to stay here till 4 o'clock in the morning. No, I want to go back. Darn it. Okay, everyone, take care. Thank you so much. And as I say, I will catch you all very, very soon. I'm going to put something on the Discord. But anyway, thank you for joining me. A good going over the stats, and then we'll try something a bit different again, maybe next week, maybe a different location again. But until then, for now, from Japan. Where is this? Matsuyama Golf. That comment wins the chat. Howard is a champ. Thank you. Stay safe all. Bye bye. Yeah, the guy running the boost will be impressed you kept going for nearly 2 hours. that wins the chat. He got thrown out. Alright guys. Ciao ciao. See you next time. Wait, I think a lot of people are saying that it froze when I said ciao ciao, so let me just redo that for now. Ciao ciao. There you go, that's better.